A lot of you guys know me for how you eliminate bloating, how you improve your gut health. But one of the things I don't talk about often enough is how I struggled so much with obsessing over food. I obsessed over everything I ate because I felt like I was always gaining belly fat. And in reality, back in the beginning of my journey, it wasn't belly fat. It was chronic bloating. It was suppressed digestion, which underneath all of those symptoms was really chronic stress, poor eating habits, not eating enough of the right foods with the right combinations. And so when I started to address all those factors, I stopped obsessing about food so much. But there was a huge period of time where I would wake up in the morning, the first thing I would think about was food until I went to bed at night. And even laying in bed at night, I would think about, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have breakfast next day. And that's not necessarily a bad thought. You want to be excited to eat. You want to enjoy the foods that you're eating most of the time. But when your brain can't stop thinking about food, that's a red flag. Either it's because you're not balancing your blood sugars with your meals, you're not eating enough proteins, especially bioavailable animal proteins like beef and chicken and wild-caught salmon, wild shrimp, those sort of things. Plus, nourishing, hydrating carbohydrates like fruits and root veggies. Think sweet potatoes, think watermelon, think pineapple. Lots of things that are going to give you good carbs. They're also going to give you a way to be hydrated without drinking a ton of water, which I've seen people do in the health and wellness space. Drinking 4 liters of water doesn't seem appropriate for me. Then also adding in good dietary sources of fats, and I'm not talking about like nuts and seeds. I'm thinking olive oil that's real, extra virgin, cold pressed. I'm thinking real butter, the fats coming from animal sources, which I used to think weren't good for me when I was heavily into the fitness side of things, but they're so nourishing for my female hormones, and I was missing a lot of those healthy fats. I was eating a lot of peanut butter. I was eating margarine. Like, that's disgusting. I would never put margarine in my body now. It's fake butter. So my body was really just screaming to me that I needed nutrients. I needed to fuel my hormones. I needed to fix my digestion, because when your digestion is that weak, when you're chronically bloated and you have these digestive symptoms, that's a sign that your body isn't absorbing all of the nutrients that it needs. So your body's always going to be craving more and more and more. On top of that, if you're over exercising like I was, then there's a high demand for more nutrients. You're boosting your metabolism to a point where your metabolic health is being suppressed, but your metabolism is using up those stored minerals and those vitamins. You're putting yourself more into a survival mode, and your body doesn't necessarily want to like burn fat and build muscle. It wants to just regulate itself. And then to a certain point, your sleep starts being suppressed. So you may have trouble falling asleep. You might wake up multiple times in the night. You're going to notice that your mood, that maybe you're irritable towards people for absolutely no reason. Maybe you're hard on yourself just because. And then at the end of the day, it's still about food. You're like, what do I eat next? How can I restrict more? How can I, curb my cravings for sugar and sweets and carby foods, when at the end of the day, your body just wants more nourishment. It wants you to slow down so that your body can absorb the nutrients. The other thing that really needed to be addressed in my life was these stressors. What stressors in my life weren't aligned with my goals? Because there are always going to be stress. And I teach this and I preach this to my clients. You're going to have stress in your life no matter what. That's just life. Unless you're on a private island somewhere drinking coconut all day and swimming in the ocean, you're going to have some sort of stress. But how is your body and your mind mitigating that stress and becoming resilient to those stressors? How can you get rid of things out of your life that aren't aligned with your goals and that you have resentment towards? That way you can support your nervous system. And when your nervous system is resilient, then it supports stronger digestion on top of you already doing these healthy eating habits, like slowing down and being present with your food, chewing your food more, your stomach does not have teeth, and not distracting yourself with your phone, TV, or driving while you're eating. And the last thing I really want to point out about how I've stopped obsessing about food is I started enjoying food. I started eating more of the foods that I loved and that I craved. to give my body and soul what it really needed. Like, I love chocolate. I don't even crave chocolate that much anymore because, one, that was a nutrient deficiency. I needed more magnesium, but two, because I allow myself to have chocolate. The fitness industry, where all of this started for me, gives a bad rep towards things like sugar and dairy and high carb foods and things that, maybe they're not so bad. Maybe it has more to do with the ingredients than just labeling food as good or bad. Think about it. People in North America tend to have issues with gluten, but people in Europe do not. They eat gluten all day long and they're fit, they're energized, and they're living life. Why is that? Is it because of what the crops are sprayed with? Is it because other things that we are adding to flour? Is sugar that bad? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want my clients or myself to have a diet high in white sugar or cane sugar. But what if the sugar instead was swapped for real maple syrup or raw honey in a combination with proteins and fats? What if you could have dairy? What if dairy wasn't the problem, but instead it was the things that were added to the dairy or how the dairy was processed? Or maybe you have an underlying issue with something like leaky gut. So once I was able to fix my digestive issues and my mindset around food and understand how I can swap out certain ingredients for healthier ingredients and still be able to get the kind of food that I was craving, then my whole world changed. I stopped thinking about food all the time. I stopped obsessing about food. I started eating nourishing meals and then going 4 to 6 hours before having another meal instead of snacking constantly throughout the day and throwing my blood sugar off, which was throwing my energy off and my mood off. I'm able to enjoy food and have a good relationship with food and myself now. And that wouldn't have been possible without having the support that I got with my mindset, my perspective, and addressing these underlying root causes that were making me feel a certain way. And I was always blaming it on food when it wasn't food. It was actually the way my digestive system was, my lifestyle, and my mindset was.